Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions.
Namaste y bienvenidos, amados poderosos compañeros.
Oh my gosh, just to know what the voice for God is in your heart, to just know it.
Saber qué es la voz que habla en tu corazón, la voz de Dios que habla en tu corazón.
Speaking directly with Jesus. This is the purpose of A Course in Miracles, for you to talk directly with Jesus.
Hablar directamente con Jesús es el propósito del curso de milagros, hablar directamente con Él.
We can talk about anything else in A Course in Miracles,
Nosotros podemos hablar de cualquier otra cosa del curso de milagros,
but without talking to him directly, and the voice speaks to me throughout the day,
pero no, sin hablar directamente con esta voz que me habla durante todo el día,
it will take indeed 30 or 40 years or longer eons to get to.
y esto puede, entonces si no logramos esto, va a requerir 20 o 30 años o iones de años.
And I see it. I didn't value that voice myself in the beginning. I didn't get it. You don't get it.
Y yo recuerdo que yo no valoraba esa voz, como que no lo lograba entender, valorar.
But all we need, like he says, just a little willingness in the mind, and the voice will tell us everything we need to know, everything.
Y con esa pequeña dosis de buena voluntad, la voz de Dios nos va a decir todo lo que necesitamos saber.
And of course, our whole purpose here is to support anyone who wants to speak to Jesus, to help them get the confidence and the how-tos, the step-by-steps. Here's, if you want that conversation with Jesus, it's yours.
Y para eso está aquí el centro, para apoyarlos. Y si ustedes quieren tener una conversación, la van a tener. Es de ustedes.
This is A Course in Miracles. Please take notes.
Este es un curso en milagros. Por favor, toma nota.
That is for every course student. When he speaks, take notes.
Y eso es para cada estudiante. Cuando él habla, toma nota.
Now we know Helen could hear him very clearly out of the gate.
Y sabemos que Helen lo podía escuchar claramente.
And so, she picked up a very profound communication through A Course in Miracles for all of us.
Y ella logró una profunda comunicación para todos nosotros.
But there is not going to be anything faster. You can read the book, but when he's explaining it to you in your ear, that is a completely different experience.
Y tú puedes leer el curso, pero si no dejas que él te hable en tu oído, eso va a ser una completa y diferente experiencia.
Because we need that voice to tell us directly where we're wrong.
Porque esta voz nos va a decir exactamente dónde estamos equivocados.
And specifically,
y específicamente,
what you will find when you decide, because the voice is always there.
Y cuando tú decidas, porque la voz siempre está ahí.
Okay. Voice is always there, and you can always hear it. If you're determined to hear it, nothing stops you from hearing it.
Y porque la voz siempre está ahí, y si tú estás determinado a escucharla, no hay nada que te pueda detener a escucharla.
Okay. Now this, we've talked about hearing the voice.
Y entonces, okay, go ahead.
Well, we've talked many sessions. When I heard about this one, I thought, well, that's all we talk about. I feel like all I talk about is talking to Jesus.
Y pareciera que todas nuestras sesiones es cómo hablar con Jesús.
It's for me, it's
porque es para mí.
Because as the mind purifies, you see, it's like a celebration to listen to that voice. It's just
Y porque es una celebración escuchar esa voz.
And to follow that voice, following that voice, as we've said many times, that's saying no to the ego and yes to divinity.
Porque seguir esa voz es decirle no al ego y sí a la divinidad.
So we need his help to get over ourselves.
And we need what?
We need his help to get over ourselves.
Nosotros necesitamos ayuda para salir de nosotros mismos.
To get over the idea of who we think we are.
A salir de la idea de lo que creemos que nosotros somos.
The addiction to thoughts and feelings and emotion as the me.
La adicción a los pensamientos, sentimientos y emociones de un yo.
Can you operate in the world without thought? Oh my gosh, too happy.
Y puedes operar en el mundo sin pensamientos y dices sí, y vas a ser muy feliz.
You know, notice, so Eckhart totally talked about, he talked about how, you know, he didn't know what happened to him. His mind just opened to the truth.
Y Eckhart Tolle, que él tuvo una experiencia donde simplemente él se abrió a la verdad.
So he was just happy.
Él simplemente es feliz.
And then he noticed like 90% of the words, they're just gone. You don't need them.
Y más o menos el 90% del mundo se fue porque no lo necesitamos.
So, you know, many spiritual traditions, okay, stop thoughts. They'll say,
Y hablan, y hay muchas espiritualidades que dicen para los pensamientos.
Or you try and meditate on that silence, the deep inner silence. You try and meditate on that.
Y si tú estás tratando de meditar en un profundo silencio, tratando de meditar.
Okay, but that's just without releasing the desire, the wanting of sensory experience, the wanting of the experience of other.
Pero sin liberar este deseo por una experiencia de unas experiencias sensoriales, de unas experiencias de un otro.
You're going in circles inside yourself, looking for a solution in thoughts and feelings and emotion. I can get a better thought, a better feeling, a better emotion.
Y estás buscando la solución ahí mismo, en los sentimientos, en las emociones, en todo esto.
I just didn't realize how much in the play of consciousness doesn't want one shred of talking to Jesus.
Y nos damos cuenta que en el juego de la conciencia no queremos ni un poquito escuchar a Jesús.
I've talked about this before, but it's so helpful for the contrast. It's not to judge it, it's to see it so we can all unlearn it.
Ya lo he dicho esto muchas veces, pero es para verlo y desaprender de ello.
Okay. So she said, Jesus has been talking to me for many years.
Esta persona dice, Jesús me ha estado hablando por muchos años.
And I just open myself up and then whatever happens.
Y luego yo me distraigo y algo pasa.
Let's all ask Jesus, is it most helpful for healing the mind to have a direct conversation with you? Yes or no?
Vamos a preguntarle entonces a Jesús, ¿es lo más útil para la sanación de la mente tener una conversación directa contigo, Jesús? ¿Sí o no?
Now, I want to say that it's not like a two-way conversation that you have with anyone else you've been associated with.
Y no es que digamos que tenemos una conversación como una conversación corriente como la que tenemos con una persona normal.
Just one second. Okay. So, yes, you can speak to him, but in order to do that, to really build, you have to have your mind open to hear back what he's going to say.
Entonces, en el orden de tener esta conversación, tú abres tu mente a preguntarle y a escuchar lo que él tiene que decirte.
See, in the world, we're used to having like arguments and, discussions and what about this? And, that you can ask him questions. That can be very helpful for if you're genuinely interested in his answer.
Y si no es que tengamos esta conversación como las normales que tenemos, donde estamos argumentando y discutiendo, simplemente tú puedes hacerle preguntas si tú genuinamente quieres escuchar la respuesta.
But like, there's no, in the way of the world, like you'd go to your parents and try to talk them out of something, or what about another way? No, it's not that kind of discussion.
Y no es como esta conversación que tú tienes con tus padres, que hablas con ellos y acerca de una otra manera, pero no es de esta manera que se habla con Jesús.
It's, what do I need to see, hear Jesus and take it in?
Y simplemente es preguntar, ¿qué debo ver aquí, Jesús? Y simplemente tomarlo.
I mean, I see it. I see the times like I would want to just, go into, an argument, because consciousness loves trying to have an argument with Jesus. No one can have an argument with Jesus. It's not possible.
Y yo recuerdo cuando yo quería tener como argumentos con Jesús, pero con Jesús no se puede argumentar, no se puede pelear con él.
All right. What that is, what I realized when I'd like complain, or Jesus, you've heard me say that, you're not helping me and all that stuff, which is going to come up. It comes up like that. It plays.
Y cuando surgían cosas como, mira, no, Jesús, tú no me estás ayudando, porque comienzan a surgir esta clase de cosas.
But I see that when I was really complaining to him, I really wasn't listening deeply to what he was going to show me another way of seeing the situation.
Y me doy cuenta que cuando yo estaba quejándome con él, no estaba permitiendo que él me mostrara la otra manera de ver las cosas.
So again, with his being who, is really devoted to the course, but devotion to the course is hearing the voice and learning from the voice.
Y esta persona que es tan devota al curso, pero realmente ser devoto al curso es escuchar la voz y hablar la voz.
It's all day. The voice speaks to me all day, and you ask the voice questions all day. That keeps you on track.
Y la voz me habla durante todo el día. Yo le estoy haciendo preguntas durante todo el día y eso me mantiene en el camino.
Because you're constantly touching base with wholeness, the totality, all that is.
Porque tú todo el tiempo estás yendo a la totalidad, a lo que es.
So you're breaking that delusion, going into delusion by touch basing with that voice. What's most helpful to heal my mind? What's most helpful? It's constantly this way, instead of making all your evaluations on the world out in form.
En lugar de irnos a la forma, ir a él y preguntarle todo el tiempo.
So I'm saying it clearly, every student of a course,
Y lo voy a decir,
everyone,
y lo voy a decir, todo estudiante del curso, cada uno,
desires it, can learn. You'll have to learn to talk to him like Helen did.
Tiene que aprender a hablar con Jesús como lo hizo Helen.
You ask him whether the atonement depends on you, the fastest way to the atonement.
Porque la expiación, la forma más rápida, la forma más eficiente,
does it depend on your being in constant communication with the voice throughout the day? Ask Jesus.
Es hablar con esta voz durante todo el día. Pregúntale a Jesús.
Okay. So Helen, if you noticed in her notes, I've talked about them before.
Y lo he hablado esto acerca de las notas que ella tomaba.
She would ask him questions for clarification.
Ella le hacía preguntas para clarificar.
But you could see he would come in like with a no, if she started dancing in delusion, he was like, poof.
Pero él viene directo, así, porque cuando tú comienzas a caer en el engaño, él viene directo.
And you want that kind of straight talk, and Jesus to give him the spaciousness, open your mind totally to whatever he's going to show you, whatever he wants to correct that needs correction.
Tú te das cuenta que vas a necesitar esta comunicación directa para que él te dé una dirección directa,
See, that's
una guía directa.
not talking to him, you know, all day long like that is a sneaky way to deny the correction.
Porque no hablar así con él es una forma de desviar la corrección.
Because everything you do will be informed by wholeness, by saying no to the ego when you can really hear him. How are you going to hear him? How are you going to follow him if you can't hear him clearly?
Porque es una forma de detener al ego y porque ¿cómo vamos a seguirlo si no lo podemos escuchar?
So you can ask them, is it essential that I get in a conversation with you, Jesus, for healing my mind? Is that what's most helpful?
Entonces pregúntele a Jesús si tener esta conversación con él es lo más útil.
And must I have 100% clarity on your voice? Yes or
Y
no?
para tener claridad de tu voz, sí o no.
So I've said before, at the beginning of A Course in Miracles, when you're just starting out again, you can barely take 3 minutes, 2 minutes a day without forgetting for the next 3 days to do the lesson. That's how I was.
Can you say that again, Kenny?
So when you start the Course in Miracles, you can barely handle 3 minutes little exercise every day, you know?
Sí, cuando comenzamos el curso, difícilmente nosotros podemos mantenernos 3 minutos en un ejercicio.
He's given us the clear message. Look, there's 365 lessons because you must be consistently dedicated to learning to hear that voice.
Y por eso él nos da 365 lecciones para que seamos consistentes en escuchar esa voz.
And then you have to actually take the course so that you're going to be willing to take his direction and his corrections.
Y luego tomar este curso y su dirección y sus correcciones.
So it's your function. I'm going to be really clear about it. It's your function to hear that, learn to hear that voice clearly, because it's your
Porque
voice.
es tu función escuchar claramente esta voz. Esa es tu función. Es tu voz.
And to just cut the ego off. It's going to say you're going to have sacrifice and it's going to be horrible. You know, that's the ego's song.
Y vas a tener que cortar al ego porque va a decir que esto es un sacrificio y esa es la canción del ego.
That is why course teachers and course students are not talking to him all day long with clarity, because there's still a deep belief in sacrifice in the subconscious mind.
Y por eso es que algunos profesores no escuchan esta voz durante todo el día porque hay aún la creencia en el sacrificio en la mente subconsciente.
That's what he's saying.
Eso es lo que está diciendo.
See, once you insist, look, I'm not buying that ticket anymore. There's no sacrifice, and it's just, well, it's peace.
Y yo no voy a comprar más ese tiquete porque no hay sacrificio, es solo paz.
So you have to be determined to get through the asteroid belt of the denial. It's going to be bad. You know, it's just going to.
Y vas a tener que pasar por el asteroide de las negaciones, por esto del tema de que va a ser malo.
But you can even ask with Helen, was she talking to him 24/7, right? Yes or no.
Y podemos preguntarle a Jesús si Helen hablaba con él 7/24, ¿sí o no?
Was she open to everything Jesus would have shown her?
Y ella estuvo abierta a ver todo lo que Jesús le mostraba.
So this is an important part of the curriculum, not only to hear the voice and take notes on what it's saying, but to follow it all day long, you know, touch pointing.
Y esto es un punto muy importante. No solo es escuchar esta voz y tomar notas de esta voz, sino también seguirlo y todo el tiempo estar refiriéndose a él.
And I've talked about this analogy too, between like a control tower and the pilot. It's this constant touch pointing to, and there's no like argument, and you know.
Y es como el ejemplo que pongo de la base y del avión, donde él tiene que estar refiriéndose constantemente a la base para confirmar la ubicación.
Some people don't like that analogy. It's an excellent one. It's Jesus take the wheel by whispering my ears. Your hands seem to move, but you're following him.
Y hay personas que no les gustan esta analogía. Why they don't like the analogy? Sorry.
Your hands seem to move, but you're following him. You're not really in the pilot's seat. You happen to be sitting there, but he's telling you every button to push.
Entonces tú simplemente vas escuchando y vas moviendo tus manos y tocando los botones que él te diga.
Eventually, you know, you're just in the back seat and he's driving the bus.
Y quizá eventualmente te tengas que hacer en la silla de atrás y él tenga que manejar el bus.
But it takes a lot of light training to get there.
Pero requiere mucho entrenamiento para llegar a ese punto.
That's what he says.
Eso es lo que él dice.
Whatever you say, Jesus.
Lo que tú digas, Jesús.
And I've spoken this before. How can you speak what he tells you unless you hear him clearly? How's that going to happen?
Y ya lo dije antes, ¿cómo podemos seguirlo si no lo hemos escuchado con anterioridad?
Yeah, the realization, we talk about it here a lot, how he's so precise and specific.
Y ya hemos hablado de esto, que él es muy preciso y específico.
And without that dialogue getting absolutely clear that it's his voice and is this what you want me to look at? Because the ego's throwing out thoughts, distractive thoughts all the time. So to keep going back to him, confirm.
Y por eso tenemos que estar confirmando con él constantemente, porque el ego bota en toda clase de cosas de basura.
Deeply valuable.
Y es profundamente valioso esto.
So why wouldn't we talk directly to him?
Entonces, ¿por qué no hablar directamente con él?
Yes, you can hear him through your
Sí,
brother.
sí, tú puedes lo puedes escuchar a él a través de tu hermano.
And many of you are seeing that through joining with your brother in a deep joining.
Y eso ustedes lo han podido ver cuando se unen a un hermano en una profunda unión.
And sometimes you'll take that better at first, seemingly to have it come through a brother than to, oh my gosh, what happens if I hear that on the inside?
Y algunas veces tomamos mejor cuando lo escuchamos de un hermano que cuando lo escuchamos adentro de nosotros.
It's not like suddenly, okay, you don't hear your brother anymore. No, it's just you're in the knowing. You're just in knowing that any sounds, any sentences, anything in consciousness, it helps you just hone in on what to focus on, what to pay attention to that's helpful for healing the mind.
Y no es que no puedas seguir escuchando a Jesús a través de tu hermano, sino que es importante que te refieres también a ver todo en ti.
So what does it take to speak to him directly?
Así que, ¿qué se requiere para hablar con él directamente?
Well, willingness.
Así que voluntad.
And your intent, your desire to focus on that voice, to value it more than all the other noise that's coming up.
Y es valorar esta voz más de cualquier otra cosa que esté surgiendo.
Oh, we've talked about this many times, and many of you are finding the clarity increasing in your ability to hear Jesus through the light circles.
Y ya hemos hablado de esto y muchos han aumentado su habilidad de escuchar a Jesús a través de los círculos de luz.
So the joining is in specific purpose to hear the voice within.
Y las uniones, el propósito específico es escuchar la voz interior.
There are all kinds of joinings and get-togethers and gathering, but this is, let's distinguish this one.
Y hay varias clases de reuniones, pero esto es algo que distingue a estas uniones.
To come together with the sole purpose of listening within to the voice for truth within and then speak it.
Porque venimos con el propósito de escuchar la voz interior y hablar esa voz.
Okay, so that's the first, your dialogue will, I mean, it's first just hearing the voice and speaking what he says.
Primero es escuchar esa voz y luego hablar lo que esa voz dice.
Because he knows there are just a lot of objections.
Porque sabemos que hay muchas objeciones
And blocking it.
y bloqueos.
I mean, that's the whole ego thought system.
Y eso es todo el sistema del ego.
But you can trust that there's some part of you that knows the truth because that's true.
Pero tú tienes que confiar que hay una parte de ti que conoce la verdad y esa es la verdad.
Jesus deals, the currency of Jesus is fact.
Y la moneda de Jesús es hecho. Es un hecho.
Okay, the distance between the earth and the sun is not a fact.
La distancia entre el cielo, entre la tierra y el sol no es un hecho.
The facts that Jesus deals with is fact one, you are wholly, whole, and complete as God made you.
Y los hechos de Jesús son, tú eres pleno, santo y completo, tal como Dios te creó.
Okay, the fact is you can hear the voice if you choose to. That's a fact.
Y otro hecho es, tú puedes escuchar la voz si tú si esa es tu voluntad. Ese es otro hecho.
You know, we hear the ego thoughts, anyone who pays attention, some people don't pay attention. But when you start observing your mind, you're going to see there's all kinds of thoughts floating in there. There's voices going on in all the time.
Y vemos como el ego tiene todas estas voces que están flotando ahí, toda clase de voces.
It's like a voice soup in there.
Es como una sopa de voces.
So at first he knows we're addicted to thoughts, so he gives us higher order thoughts that point toward truth. That's the course lessons.
Y eso es, él sabe que nosotros somos adictos a los pensamientos, por eso él nos da los pensamientos de un mayor nivel, que son todas las lecciones del curso.
So now he's going, okay, talk to me and let me show you where you don't want one shred of a lesson to be true.
Y ahora nos muestra cómo cómo él nos está mostrando que no queremos ni un pedacito de la lección que sea cierta.
Okay, where you like choosing the thoughts that say, oh, that's not true. There's too much sacrifice. No, there's too much sacrifice.
Donde decimos, no, esto es demasiado sacrificio, demasiado sacrificio.
But it's a start. If you want to speak to Jesus and get the fast lane of speaking to him, it's learn to join with your brother to start 2 or more. It tunes the God channel to hear the voice. That's the first step. Learn to clear your mind of denials that you can hear the voice.
Y si tú quieres acelerar esto, tienes que clarificar las negaciones de escuchar esa voz para canalizar, para alinearnos con el canal de Jesús.
He said this many times and he's saying it again.
Él lo ha dicho muchas veces y lo dice ahora mismo.
The way to learn the course.
La forma de aprender el curso.
Speak to me.
Es háblame.
Follow me.
Sígueme.
Okay, speak only what I tell you.
Habla únicamente lo que yo te digo.
Because you can throw the book out if you get that part.
Y así puedes tirar el curso si llegas a ese punto.
Okay. The book is just like a starter program to get your engine going, to see that talking to him directly is your fastest, most direct way out.
El curso es como un comienzo que enciende el motor para que tú lo escuches y lo sigas.
Because the ego can sound deceptively like Jesus.
Porque el ego puede sonar muy parecido a Jesús.
So again, he's talking about here, you have the spaciousness every day to make it a priority to hear my voice. It's your priority. Nothing's more important than that.
Y tú puedes hacer que cada día escuchar mi voz sea tu prioridad, no ninguna otra.
Ask him whether he will clear time and space for you to make it a priority to hear his voice.
Y pregúntale si él va a organizarte el tiempo y el espacio para hacer que tu prioridad sea escuchar esa voz.
And to help him clear you from your mind all the excuses that are being given for not hearing that voice.
Y para clarificar esas excusas que usas para no escuchar esa voz.
See, when you're in an upset, I could see it. I start telling Jesus, here's the problem, Jesus.
Y cuando tenemos una molestia, nosotros comenzamos a decir, mira, Jesús, aquí este es el problema.
Or I go, I know what the problem is. I will just look at this. I can see it's a belief. What are all the beliefs I have? And I'll start cleaning those out because I know how to do it.
Y entonces cuando tenemos una molestia, miramos todas las creencias que tenemos y comenzamos a limpiarlas, porque creemos que sabemos.
The miracle worksheet is exactly what he says in A Course in Miracles. There's no difference from what he says in A Course in Miracles in that worksheet.
Y la hoja de milagros es exactamente lo que Jesús dice en el curso de milagros. No hay diferencia en esta hoja.
Join with me in a moment of light.
Únete a mí en un momento de luz.
And this is the same thing if you want to hear him and speak to him. These are the fundamental principles.
Y esta es la misma cosa. Estos son los principios fundamentales.
Admit you do not know.
Admite que tú no sabes.
Do not make the ya real by telling a story about it.
No hagas el ya real. No hagas la historia real.
Okay. You tell me, Jesus, our role is to request to be shown.
El requerimiento nuestro es pedirle a Jesús que nos sea mostrado.
Okay, so as your relationships of that kind of coming back and forth and you checking in with him as you're learning to accept the miracle and he's showing you why you don't want one.
Entonces vas a tener esta relación de va y viene donde tú le preguntas y qué milagro no quieres aceptar.
It's beginning that direct conversation. It's just that even if you just get a point of practicing that yes or no, Jesus, do I want a miracle on this? And he'll tell you, you do.
Y es comenzar a practicar diálogo y también puedes practicar el sí y el no cuando mueve la cabeza.
This is the power of the path with your brother that he describes, that you come together in truth to see what's true.
Y esta es la rapidez de este camino de ir con tu hermano para ver lo que es verdad.
So now you're learning to tune into the radio station of the voice.
Y ahora estás aprendiendo a alinearte en la estación de radio con esta voz.
Okay. But here's the challenge with that. The ego is a beast of inconsistency. You'll just start hearing the voice and the ego figures, oh, I'm all over. I'm done if I keep going with this.
Aquí vemos cómo, sorry, Kay, I lost the idea. Can
The
you
ego
repeat?
is gonna beings will go for a short time, but then they're off to something else.
Y el ego va a querer estar un momentico, pero luego va a venir con otra cosa.
There's something else more important than speaking every day with your brother to Jesus. I got other stuff to do.
Y tengo otras cosas que hacer, como que no tengo tiempo para hablar con mi hermano, con Jesús a través de mi hermano.
You ask him if he's putting you in those light circles, it's really to heal your mind as a priority.
Y pregúntale si estar en estos círculos es la prioridad para sanar tu mente. La mente.
Okay, just 1 second. So it's just it's step, you have to be dedicated. There isn't another way of it. You have to clear your mind enough so that you can start taking notes and good notes.
Tienes que ser dedicado y tienes que dedicarte para poder lograr buenas notas, escribir, o sea, notas que Jesús te da.
If you want to have that where he's, direct coaching you, you have to clear out a lot of desires not to hear the voice.
Y si tú quieres tener esa claridad, tienes que liberar todos estos deseos de no querer escuchar esta voz.
And then as you're open through following and taking the assignments that he gives.
Y luego seguir las asignaciones que él te dé.
I could see that I could hear him some, because I was hearing him for many years, but I wasn't consistent. It takes consistency.
Y yo puedo ver que yo podía escucharlo a él por varios años, pero realmente no de una manera consistente y se requiere consistencia.
It takes putting 100% value on that voice.
Y requiere que pongamos 100% del valor en esa voz.
If you want to hear him with 100%, it has to be that. It has to be 100% the value of the voice and 100% following.
Porque si quieres escuchar esa voz, tienes que ponerlo como prioridad, escuchar esa voz y seguir esa voz.
Because otherwise they're protected places in your mind that he can't access. And so you won't hear him on those areas. The ego will be blocking him.
Porque de lo contrario estás preservando unas partes de tu mente donde estás bloqueando o el ego la está bloqueando para que no sean vistas.
And I could see very early, like 2014, I started the Joining in Light website.
Y recuerdo que como en el 2014, muy temprano, yo estaba comenzando el sitio web de Joining in Light.
I could see that I was doing writings, and now I can see that they're very clear.
Y yo recuerdo que yo estaba tomando notas y ahora lo puedo ver claramente.
But then I could write it, but without you need that to detonate.
You need what?
You can write beautiful words that come from, out of the voice.
Y tú puedes escribir unas palabras muy hermosas que no vienen de la voz.
But you need them to detonate, and the way they detonate is you have to start following, so you clear the desires out.
Que vienen de la voz pero para que estas palabras detonen, tienes que escuchar y seguir.
I can see there was like a lot of following and a lot of assignments he put me on before I finally said, okay.
Y yo recuerdo que él me tuvo que dar muchas asignaciones y yo seguirlas para llegar a este punto.
When I finally got it, it's a desire not to see the light, and he's the coach. I had to accept that 100%.
Y sí, darme cuenta de que él era el entrenador y que yo tenía que seguirlo el 100%.
So then I didn't, I wasn't like, I could hear him, but I didn't have the confidence. Like, that took a lot of fortitude. Helen knows, been working on that over 7 years.
Y recuerdo que lo escuchaba, pero no tenía confianza suficiente, así que tuve que trabajar como por 7 años.
But it was right, as I've said, right around the new covenant where I don't know, I just opened up the conversation. That's the point you want to get to.
Y recuerdo que cuando comencé a escribir Jesús un nuevo convenio fue en el momento donde como que me abría esto y a ese punto es que debemos llegar todos.
It's not about like writing a book or something. It's about taking a book like A Course in Miracles or Jesus, a New Covenant.
Y no se trata de escribir un libro, simplemente es tomar el curso o Jesús un nuevo convenio.
And going through it line by line and
E
having
ir,
him coach you on it. What does this
y,
mean?
e ir línea por línea con él y decirle, Jesús, ¿qué significa esto? ¿Qué quiere decir esto?
And at first, I wasn't like sure about things, you're not going to, but the way you gain the confidence is by doing it, just listening to him and writing it down and practicing and then following to the best of your ability so that clears out more cobwebs.
Y en un principio yo no tenía la confianza suficiente, pero entre más iba haciendo esto, iba como mejorando esta
And then
comunicación.
a shift has to occur in the mind to accept that last unanswered question.
Y luego tiene que haber un cambio en tu mente donde tú aceptas la última pregunta no contestada.
Am I
No.
willing to see what's been denied? Because it's true. Am I willing to see that the light is it?
Estoy dispuesto a ver la verdad porque la he negado. Estoy dispuesto a ver que la luz es todo lo que es.
And then I just saw it. It was like I realized the more I listened to him and the more I followed him, the more I needed him.
Y me he dado cuenta que entre más lo escuchaba, más lo seguía, más me daba cuenta lo mucho que lo necesitaba.
Now, that a course teacher said, well, you're talking to him. Isn't that duality?
Y lo que tú estás, algunos profesores dicen lo que estás diciendo, ¿eso no es dualidad?
When that engine gets going, you'll see there's no duality. See, because
Cuando ese
you're
motor,
starting to go into Holy Communion, which is beyond any kind of idea of duality.
y cuando este motor prende, nos damos cuenta de que no hay ninguna dualidad.
Because that voice is the song of creation, of totality within. What's dual about that?
Porque esa canción es la canción de la totalidad. ¿Qué tal eso?
Like, it's the supreme happiness engine. You can only have supreme happiness if you're one.
Es el motor de la suprema felicidad, si tú lo quieres.
Once you're in communion, see that joy is communion.
Esta unión es comunión.
Am I still talking to him? Yes, I sure am. Is it duality? No.
Y aún sigo hablando con él. Le pregunto, ¿esto es dualidad? Me dice, no.
You can ask David Hoffmeister, so I can tell you 100% he's still talking. I don't know. I haven't talked to him about it, but I know he still talks to Jesus. Ask yourself. You can hear it.
Tú puedes preguntarle esto a David Hoffmeister. Porque, what about David?
He still talks to Jesus.
Y porque él, sabemos que él sigue hablando con Jesús.
Not a problem if you do. It's helpful.
No hay problema, porque esto es útil.
See, we created another voice, so he uses a voice as the way out. It's freaking brilliant.
Así que creamos una voz para sacar de esas otras voces Y
Like
esto es brillante, dice.
the deeper into the course, the more you see it's just brilliant. It's
Entre
just,
más profundo vas el curso, te das cuenta que es brillante.
just I don't even know how it works, but it does if you want the happiness.
No sabemos cómo funciona, pero funciona si tú quieres la felicidad.
So how do you talk to them? You got to follow because it's not always 100% clear at first because you got a lot of woo-woo going on, a lot of beehive.
Si quieres escucharlo, tienes que seguirlo, porque en un principio va a haber mucho ruido, va a haber este panal de abejas.
But that is why the bravest of the beings are working that guidance worksheet.
Y por eso la fortaleza o la fuerza de estas personas que trabajan con la hoja de milagros.
I know I would have twitched if someone had said, oh, work a guidance worksheet once a week, much less every day.
Y yo estoy segura que me hubiese incomodado cuando me dijeran, haz la hoja de trabajo una vez a la semana, y mucho más si me dijeran que todos los días.
Because the ego wants to scream. It feels like, oh, I'm being taken over.
Y porque el ego va a gritar y va a decir, estoy siendo eliminado.
But it's helpful until your mind is purified enough and you know he's the way out, and you develop this really strong collaboration with him.
Y te das cuenta de lo importante de generar esta fuerte colaboración con él.
And you start touch pointing. That's the experience here. I just started touch pointing him all day long. What about this, Jesus? A thought would come up and I could ask him, is that helpful? And he'd say no, and I could just let it go.
Y por eso tenemos que referirnos siempre a él durante todo el día. Y si llega un pensamiento, esto es útil, y si dice que no, simplemente lo dejo ir.
It's a hot potato, so it took me a while to drop it. Sometimes I like to hang on to that old dead stuff.
Y eso es como una papa caliente, y yo sé que hubo tiempos donde tenía este infierno ahí en las manos.
You know, we like to hang on to that apple of delusion there. Just hang on.
Queremos agarrarnos de esta manzana del engaño.
Not gonna work. You know
No va a
who's
funcionar.
there.
Ya saben quién está ahí.
And it's really, I'm talking to, it's the only way you're going to really find out that you've got heaven and hell flipped.
Pero es la única forma de darte cuenta cómo tienes invertido el cielo y el infierno.
It's so instructive to have him go, here's where you got it upside down. Here's where you think heaven is hell and hell is heaven.
Y es muy útil tenerlo a él para que nos muestre dónde tenemos invertido y dónde creemos que el cielo es el infierno y el infierno es el cielo.
You know, the ego will run you around like a rat in a bunch of different holes, and then you're thinking it's happiness.
Y el ego se va a querer esconder como una rata en diferentes hoyos y diciendo que eso es felicidad.
And I can say it because I was doing it before I started talking to him 100%.
Y yo sé, lo sé porque yo lo hice antes de seguirlo al 100%.
But that's what the notes are for. That's what Helen's notes. That's why they're available. Jesus made sure they're available. You ask them. They're so you can look at them. He showed them to me so I could see. It's a conversation in terms of me asking him questions to get clarity.
Entonces, Helen lo hacía porque nos referimos a él siempre para hacerle preguntas todo el tiempo.
Is this most helpful for healing my mind, Jesus?
Él le preguntas como, ¿es esto lo más útil para la sanación de mi mente, Jesús?
Is this the desire you want me to look at, or is there something else more helpful?
¿Esto es el deseo que quieres que mire o es algo, hay algo más que es más útil?
You can immediately see that yes and that no of hearing him at that level is, how do you fly the plane the most direct between Chicago and San Francisco?
y comenzar a escuchar ese sí, ese no, porque, por ejemplo, ¿cómo puedes tomar un viaje de no sé qué a San Francisco?
Okay, you're testing, you're constantly look at your compass, pointing in the right direction, and you're following that. And if you get off course, you get back on it.
Es como poner la brújula y si estás desviándote, simplemente tienes que moverte o alinearte.
So we have to learn to stop listening to this voice.
Así que debemos aprender a parar de escuchar esta voz,
Stop listening to that voice.
parar de escuchar esa voz
Okay. And claiming it's a happy, friendly voice. You have to, he's
y,
not your
y
friend.
reclamar de que es una voz amistosa.
That's why Jesus looks like this. He's your friend. You put little horns on him and say he's going to take you to hell. No.
Y es por eso que tienen que hablar con Jesús, porque le ponemos estos pequeños cachitos y decimos que hablar con él es el infierno, y no.
Yep. It was so profound because I was in Bali standing in front of one of the gods is like this scary looking birds. It was like this really scary looking bird thing.
Y bueno, yo estaba en Bali y había este gran pájaro ahí.
You know, it's darn ugly. It has some kind of function. I can't remember what it has in Hinduism. It has some kind of,
Y tiene en el hinduismo tiene una clase de es como especial.
but it has a positive function of some sort, even though it looks horrible.
Aunque os parece horrible, tiene una función especial.
And I could hear, you cannot see the God sending you angels if you keep putting the devil's tail on them.
Y él dice que no vas a poder ver los ángeles que te envió si tú les sigues poniendo una cola.
See, you think the ones from heaven are the devil. You think God's the devil.
Tú crees que los que vienen que Dios es el diablo.
If you're not talking to Jesus fully, there's some part of you that believes he's the devil.
Y si tú no estás hablando con Jesús es porque hay una creencia que él es el diablo.
If you're not following him 100%, there's some part of you that thinks he's the devil.
Si no estás siguiendo 100%, hay una parte de ti que cree que él es el diablo.
But the only way to really find out he's actually on your side is to start talking to him, asking him questions.
Y la forma de comenzar es comenzar haciéndole preguntas.
And then standing back and not explaining to him your intellectual belief about what it means or the course means. You really listen and let him show you what the course means.
Y hacerte a un lado y dejar que él te muestre exactamente qué quiere decir lo que te está explicando del curso.
Okay, he's the one who's going to know. You have to accept the experiences that he's going to give you the guidance.
Y tú tienes que saber que él es el que sabe y dejar que él, porque él tiene la experiencia para guiarte.
I realized I didn't see that as important.
Y yo me puedo dar cuenta que yo no me da, o sea, que yo no me daba cuenta que lo importante que era eso.
But I could see the more I was determined to see, and then the more I stepped into it. So you have to step into that place where you don't want to go. You're stepping into the place in your mind that you don't want to see.
Y entonces tú tienes que mirar en la mente en las partes que tú no quieres ver y mantenerte ahí y mirar.
See, it's two parts. I can have a talk with him and he could tell me about things and I could type, his words out in that book.
Y yo sé que esto tiene dos partes. Yo podía escucharlo y escribir lo que él me dictaba en este curso, de este libro.
But without opening my mind fully to go, okay, every one of these, Jesus, you show me, And to follow him 100%, he can't access parts of your mind to help you
pero,
see the truth.
pero si no lo sigues, él no va a poder tener acceso a partes de tu mente donde tiene que sanar.
So it's not about doing something, it's about seeing something. In order to deepen your relationship with him, you have to be willing to see everything, which means to see what he would show you.
No se trata de hacer, se trata de permitir que a través del hacer él te muestre cosas que tienen que ser mostradas.
You know, he says clearly in A Course in Miracles,
Él dice claramente en un curso de milagros,
you have a function in the atonement which I will dictate to you. I will tell you. I will tell you.
y tú tienes una función en la expiación que yo te dictaré, que yo te diré.
So without talking to him directly, how are you going to know what that is?
Y sin hablar con él directamente, ¿cómo vamos a saber cuál es esa función?
So I'll say it again. Yes, you might get a symbol. You see a bulletin board that has, you know, go somewhere, you know.
Y sí, tú puedes tener muchos símbolos como una señal donde dice, ve a este lugar.
Or someone mentioned Bali and it's like, oh my God, I know I'm going there. You just know, you know.
Y, por ejemplo, alguien puede mencionar la palabra Bali y decir, ay, sí, yo voy a ir.
And he can work with you in pictures and sometimes he will do that.
Y sí, él puede trabajar con esta clase de imágenes y pues,
But there's really nothing the ego likes more than dream interpretation.
pero no hay nada más que le guste al ego que interpretar los sueños.
Like, what do you think that means? You know, it likes to go in dreams and interpret dreams.
¿Qué significa eso? Le encanta ir por ahí interpretando sueños.
No, you want to be able to have a conversation directly with this one and let him do all the interpretation for you.
Pero tú vas a dejar que él sea el que haga las interpretaciones por ti.
And then rearrange time and space so your little circuits can be blown.
Y así él va a reorganizar el tiempo y el espacio. To be what?
So your little circuits, you know, when a circuit breaker blows,
No,
you
what's
blow a
that?
circuit,
No.
all the electricity goes to the electrical panel and those are the circuits.
Ah, todos los circuitos. Ah, ok, I get it. Entonces todos los circuitos van a confluir.
Okay. You need Jesus to blow your circuits out so you're not so sure the world works the way you think it does.
Entonces tú vas a necesitar a Jesús para que mira todos esos circuitos porque tú no sabes cómo funcionan.
And unless you follow him, you'll never see really where you had heaven and hell upside down.
Porque sin ese seguirlo no te vas a dar cuenta dónde tienes invertido el cielo y el infierno.
So how do you talk to him directly?
Así que, ¿cómo hablar con él directamente?
You foster speaking to him directly.
Háblale tú directamente.
You ask him about guidance.
Pregúntele acerca de la guía.
Jesus, help me be clear on this.
Jesús, ¿me ayudarás a ser claro, a tener claridad acerca de esto?
You're willing to purify your mind of every place. He'll guide you to show you. Here's where you don't want to talk to me.
Y le pueden preguntar directamente a él dónde no queremos hablar con él.
See, when you don't follow guidance, you don't want to talk to him. You know.
Cuando tú no sigues la guía es porque no quieres escucharlo.
I mean, students love to say that. Jesus is going to go with me wherever I go.
Y los estudiantes les gusta decir esto. Jesús va conmigo donde quiera que yo voy.
Of course he will, but you've already made the decision you don't want to see what he's trying to show you. So it's hidden.
Y por supuesto que él va a ir con ustedes, pero ya han tomado ustedes la decisión de no escucharlo.
And you won't hear him more clearly because your mind is blocked to something he's feeling that is the next step to show you.
Y no lo van a escuchar porque ustedes están bloqueando esa voz para el siguiente paso que él nos va a mostrar.
See, he knows what the next step is and what order they need to be in. And when you say no, you're blocking him from showing you something.
Porque él sabe cuál es el siguiente paso. Y cuando le decimos que no, estamos bloqueando de que él nos muestre.
You know, eventually you can, but it just causes all this kerfuffle in the mind. Then you feel guilty. Then it's more delay. Then you got to defend why you didn't do that thing that you were told he asked you to do.
Y entonces luego viene la culpa y viene la defensa y las excusas de por qué no puedes hacer lo que te está pidiendo.
You know, and then some other thing comes in to distract you, and I got to do this, and my aunt's and not feeling well. You know, it's just a wave of self-torture.
Y luego vienen todas estas otras distracciones y comenzamos a no sentirnos bien y viene toda esta ola de autotortura.
But the ego's tricky, you know, it hides it. It right now it seems, oh, relief, I didn't follow him. And then it goes underground for a little while and then it smacks you.
Pero el ego es tramposo. Él, what can you say that again?
Later. You don't associate it with the saying no now. It sneaks around and then it smacks you later with guilt.
Y luego el ego te invita como que lo sigas y luego te va a despichar con la culpa.
You know, there was someone, just beautiful being, you know, and she's saying, I just don't know what to do because I just saw this really horrible thing happen.
Y no sé quién vino y me dijo, mira, no sé qué hacer con estas cosas horribles que me están pasando.
I couldn't get a miracle. I'd been studying a course a long time. I just couldn't get a miracle.
Y no he podido obtener un milagro y he sido un estudiante por mucho tiempo.
Boy, these things are deep. You want to have a direct conversation with him about things like this.
Y cosas como estas vas a tú querer tener una conversación directa con él.
Because the ego is going to go, okay, you know, I need to forgive seeing whatever I saw.
Y porque luego va a venir y decir, mira, tengo que perdonar algo que vi.
Now, okay, just put your seatbelts on for this one.
Y así que póngase los cinturones
Okay.
para esto que viene.
Because beings always get mad when I talk about this, but I'm telling you, you're going to see it.
Pero yo sé que, que algunos seres se ponen molestos cuando hablo de esto, pero lo van a ver.
All right, hold on.
Así que agárrense.
Grab a Jesus.
Agárrense de Jesús.
If you really want to know the truth, if you
Si en verdad ustedes quieren escuchar la verdad,
okay, is you're going to have to forgive your decision not to follow.
Tienen que perdonar la decisión de no seguir.
So you could relish in that experience that you got to watch.
Así que y disfrutar la experiencia de lo que están viendo.
See, if you're following guidance, things may happen, but it's just a completely different experience than that.
Pero cuando seguimos es una experiencia totalmente diferente de la que podemos tener.
You can ask him, Jesus, you don't even have to know the whole situation. Just go, Jesus, was that an experience that arose out of denying guidance?
Entonces, no tienen que saber. Ustedes pueden preguntar, ¿esa experiencia surgió por no seguir la guía?
Yes or no?
¿Sí o no?
The guidance is to help, like David Hoffmeister would say, it's to lily pad you. You jump lily pads.
Y la guía son como los lirios, un camino de lirios.
The problem is, the ego is going to interpret and go, well, this isn't light, Jesus. You're making me do something, you know, it seems heavy.
Y cuando Repeat that, Kate, please.
The ego is going to complain. It's an interpreter. It interprets anything that gets close to God as hell.
El ego se va a quejar porque cualquier cosa que sea acercarnos a Dios se lo va a interpretar como el infierno.
You know, because then beings will say, well, you're telling me I'm not following guidance. You're trying to make me feel guilty.
Porque sabemos que no estamos siguiendo la guía y decimos, tú me estás haciendo sentir culpable.
You have to see you're making yourself feel guilty by not following guidance.
Tú tienes que ver que tú te estás sintiendo culpable por no seguir la guía. Tú te estás sintiendo culpable por no seguir la guía.
But within the play, you never see that. You have to get to the other side of it before you actually see what you're doing to yourself.
Pero tú en el juego no te das cuenta de eso. Tienes que estar del otro lado para darte cuenta de eso.
You have to see where you're choosing those experiences. You are choosing every experience you have.
Tienes que ver que tú estás eligiendo todas estas experiencias.
And there's such an itch, you know, it's an itch. It's got to be somebody else's deal, somebody else's fault.
Y es como una picazón. Esto tiene que ser la culpa de alguien más.
Man, the Course in Miracles is the ultimate buck stops here.
Y el curso de milagros es la última estación donde el bus para aquí.
The penultimate, I don't know if you know that in Spanish, but
Yeah.
it's the pinnacle.
The penultimate? The penultimate?
Penultimate. It is the pinnacle.
Well, anyway, yeah, and what we say, yeah, I know what is penultimate, but the penultimate is before and the
Pinnacle. Pinaculo. It is
Pinnacle.
the peak of teaching that you are responsible for everything that you see, everything that happens to you.
Es como el penáculo, dice algo así, que donde muestra que todo es una experiencia, o sea, tú ves lo que quieres ver.
It's the ultimate, I am responsible for everything I see.
Es lo que muestra que somos responsables de lo que vemos.
I am responsible for the feelings I experience.
Yo soy responsable de los sentimientos que estoy teniendo.
And I am receiving, it is out of my desire, wish, and I'm receiving as I wish.
Y estoy recibiendo como lo estoy deseando, estoy recibiendo lo que estoy deseando.
But it's unique in its also in that you see the divine power that you have.
Y incluso en eso te das cuenta del el poder divino que tú tienes.
Do you see you chose it? You need not chose it. What could be happier than that?
Que ver que lo puedes elegir y que lo puedes dejar de elegir. ¿Qué más felicidad que eso?
But then getting to the point of the willingness to see that you chose it.
Entonces tienes que llegar a tener la voluntad de ver que lo elegiste.
That's something you find out through that collaboration with Jesus, you see, all day long.
Y eso es una cosa que te das cuenta con esta colaboración que tienes con Jesús durante todo el día.
And then he helps you cease to choose hell experience.
Y luego Él te ayuda a dejar de elegir experiencias de infierno.
So just to recap, how do you have a direct conversation with Jesus?
Y así puedes, como para recapitular, vamos a cómo podemos tener una conversación directa con Jesús.
Okay, stop denying that you can.
Deja de negar que tú puedes tenerla.
Yes, to hear him with 100% clarity, it will take a lot of purification. Yes, it's a fact. That
Sí.
is true.
Eso es cierto que para escucharlo con una constancia se requiere mucha purificación.
But and to get the fruits of what you can type, so it's one thing to hear that, those words, and to have your mind purified enough so that it's, you know, you can really hear them.
Y si tienes esa voluntad de escucharlo, en verdad lo puedes escuchar.
But the rubber hits the road with that direct following what he's telling you to do and where to go and what to say.
Pero la parte más importante es que hagas lo que él te diga y digas lo que él te diga.
Until you'll see, I mean, you'll have a, yes, he says you'll have a direct experience.
Y sí, tú vas a poder tener una experiencia directa.
You will see that it will just blow decisions out of your, that you, it's valuable for you to make your own decisions. It will be blown out of your mind. You'll see it's no
Entonces
value in that.
entonces te darás cuenta que no es valioso tomar decisiones por tu propia cuenta.
You can, when out of those assignments, you'll see what are you deciding for? You'll see you're deciding for God by following.
Darte cuenta que cuando lo sigues estás decidiéndote por Dios.
You'll see what you're really deciding. Which means you're ceasing to decide to give yourself hell.
Entonces dejas de darte el infierno para ti mismo.
Okay. And then you'll, as you just listen to the voice and your mind purifies and you just realize that voice is listening on the heaven channel.
Y cuando comienzas a escuchar esta voz escucha desde el canal del cielo.
So you're checking in all day, and then after a while, it's like you're checking in and it's just love. It's like infinite. And you realizing that voice is to remind you all day of Holy Communion.
Y cuando verificamos con esta luz, es el recordatorio de nuestra Santa Comunión.
The ego wants nothing to do with Holy Communion.
Y el ego no quiere nada con la Santa Comunión.
Okay, that's why I don't want to hear the voice or have a conversation with Jesus or.
Por eso es que no quiere escuchar la voz y no quiere tener una conversación con Jesús.
Or say it's not necessary.
O dice que no es necesaria.
I don't have to, hear the voice. I can, well, it's the same. It's not like Jesus and the Holy Spirit are going to tell you two different things. If you want to call it the Holy Spirit.
No es que Jesús y el Espíritu Santo te vayan a decir una cosa diferente. Si tú lo quieres llamar Espíritu Santo.
The Holy Spirit's clear. You wouldn't understand directly talking to the Holy Spirit. You wouldn't, because you need Jesus to translate. It says it in the Course of Miracles.
Pardon, can you repeat that?
You need Jesus to translate, because if you're talking to the Holy Spirit directly, you wouldn't understand it. You would read it in the Course of Miracles. It says that.
Ok, tú tienes que tener a Jesús como un traductor para lo que te dice el Espíritu Santo, porque eso lo dice en el curso, porque no vas a entender lo que el Espíritu Santo te diga.
But you can talk to the Holy. I mean, it's going to be the same. It's not like they have different programs going.
Pero en general es lo mismo, porque no es que tengan dos programas diferentes.
Somebody got really angry because we were talking directly to Jesus. Well, I'm talking to the Holy Spirit. I'm not talking to a middleman.
Alguna persona se puso molesta porque nosotros hablamos con Jesús, porque él decía, yo hablo directamente con el Espíritu Santo, no voy a hablar con una persona de menor nivel.
You can call Jesus Joe Bob if you want. It's not, he doesn't have any challenge with that.
Y tú puedes llamar a Jesús Joe Bob, pero Joe Bob. Pero sí.
Okay.
Pero
Carlos.
tú puedes llamarlo Juan Carlos, puedes llamarlo de cualquier manera, él no tiene problema con eso.
As long as you know that it's the voice for wholeness within you that remembers the truth of what you are.
Siempre y cuando sepas que es la voz que habla de la plenitud y la voz que habla de lo que tú eres.
How do you have a direct conversation with Jesus?
¿Cómo tener una conversación directa con Jesús?
Make it your highest priority.
Haz que esto sea tu prioridad de más alto nivel.
And then commit yourself to releasing all the desires not to have a direct conversation through miracles.
y liberar todos los deseos de no tener una conversación directa con Jesús a milagros.
Ask his help to show you every single denial.
Pregúntale a él para que él te muestre cada simple negación
that you can hear the voice.
de que tú puedes escuchar esa voz.
Any kind of ideas that you think that he's the devil.
Cualquier clase de idea que tú creas que él es el diablo.
Any ideas of, because you grew up Catholic or you grew up,
Cualquier clase de ideas si tú fuiste criado como católico.
we'd create these different religions so we can recover from them before we can see that we're holy.
Hemos creado todas estas religiones para luego recuperarnos de esto y darnos cuenta de que somos completos,
I can say
santos.
that. I went to Catholic school till I was 18.
Sí, yo puedo recordar eso porque yo fui al colegio católico hasta los 18.
You go ahead and ask him, Jesus, was that just a way to deny divinity?
Y podemos preguntarle, Jesús, ¿eso fue una forma de negar la divinidad?
So then I could reject all religions for the next 30 years.
Y para así poder rechazar las religiones por los siguientes 30 años.
Don't let those Jesus freaks get close to me.
Para no dejar que Jesús estuviera cerca de mí.
Those crazy Jesus lovers,
Estos locos amantes de Jesús.
It's all an idea.
Todo es una idea.
So now whatever people, as I said, I don't know, oh my gosh, I've talked about this before. I'm seeing if it's now, I think I've kind of finally equalized with my mother knowing that I talked to Jesus.
What about your mother?
I finally cleared my mind about it. Now I don't care who knows I talked to Jesus, but I could see all that. I don't want my mother to know that I'm talking to Jesus.
Como que yo no quería que mi madre supiera que yo hablaba con Jesús, pero bueno, ya he clarificado todo esto.
I think it's a bit out on the internet.
Es mejor
all over the internet
que
now.
ella me vea por internet ahora.
Yeah, you kind of get over it when you see what that collaboration brings to you in terms of level of joy,
Y tú vas a dejar todo esto cuando te des cuenta el valor de esta colaboración, el gozo que hay en esta colaboración.
How to speak directly, join with your mighties.
¿Cómo hablar directamente con él? Únete con tus hermanos si no lo puedes escuchar.
Join with your mighties and they will help you hear him.
Únete con tus compañeros poderosos y ellos te ayudarán a escucharlo.
And do not underestimate how much you do not want to talk to him.
Y no subestimes cuánto no quieres escucharlo.
But he'll help you.
Pero él los ayudará.
And again, that's our gig. Our gig is talk to the man with the plan who wrote the Course in Miracles. Doesn't that sound like a good idea?
¿No les parece buena idea que hablemos con el man que creó el curso, con el que sabe?
And he's reminded me, if you want to copy the notes I took when I finally started, okay, Jesus, what about this conversation? I'll share those with you too. You'll see how much you like Helen's, and you'll see how much when you start writing this stuff down, it'll sound just like it too.
Y si me está recordando que que si quieren puedo compartir con ustedes las notas que yo tomé cuando comencé estas conversaciones, así como Helen lo hizo y como ustedes los van a hacer.
I have to be clear, it is not special to talk to Jesus unless you make it special.
Y tengo que decirlo, no es algo especial hablar con Jesús, a menos de que tú lo quieres hacer especial.
What kind of Jesus? Well, I wrote this whole book for you, but I'm certainly not going to talk to you about it.
¿Y cómo podría decir? Sí, yo que sé que escribiste el libro, pero no quiero hablar contigo de esto.
Yeah, I'm only going to talk to Helen, not all you people.
No quiero hablar contigo, quiero hablar con Helen. No quiero hablar con ustedes.
The voice for God speaks to some of you people out there, but the rest of you, too bad.
Y como que la voz va a hablar con ustedes,
Oh,
con este grupo de personas y no con este otro grupo de personas malas.
no, it doesn't work like that.
Eso no funciona así.
Okay, so in honor of this, what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna see if I can find this little video. This is in honor of Christopher and all of us coming together to join. Here we go.
Bueno, esta es una para honrar a Christopher y todos
Well,
están invitados.
it was gonna play. Let me see if I can get it.
Parece que es una canción
Disappeared into the sunset. Christopher, where'd you go?
y se llama Desaparecer en el atardecer.
Oh, no, Christopher. Oh, there it is. Now it will.
Ya encontramos a Christopher.
Joining in the light, surfing on the love sea, oh, what a peace. What a peace. I see an arc of light. They all sing together for the peace. For the peace. But why is that over there? What does it mean not to be?
Seem to arise. Desire. The desire for something other than light.
A strange bubble appeared.
Desire is part of the unknown. So you could look at this as like a little bubble of desire to dive and away from the light.
But nothing happens, my son. I'm here.
We can hear you. You are mute.
But nothing happens, my son. I'm here.
Pero nada pasa, hijo mío. Yo estoy aquí.
Yeah, we got to see if Christopher would sing that one in Spanish for us. It's so beautiful.
Tenemos que encontrar esta canción en español que cantó
Really, the power. How do you
Christopher.
hear the voice join with your brother?
El poder de unirte con un hermano.
So we will open it up and see if there's anyone who would like to ask a question, pregunta.
Vamos a abrir para si alguien tiene alguna pregunta.
Or share what they're learning, about how to speak directly to Jesus.
O compartir alguna experiencia de cómo hablar con Jesús.
Thank you. Yeah, I just notice a lot more like the more I'm like doing like a Q&A with Jesus.
Me doy cuenta que cada vez que hago preguntas a Jesús,
Like I'll do that before a session.
como las preguntas que hago antes de la sesión.
And then it's like he says everything. He says everything and more when you
Él me
share.
dice todo. Él me dice todo y más cuando tú compartes.
So it's just like confirmation after confirmation after confirmation. It's just amazing.
Es una reconfirmación de una reconfirmación. Eso es maravilloso.
Yeah, thank you.
Así que
Thank you,
gracias.
Renee. And also too, it's the fruit of following. So she's been very dedicated by making sure that she's following and she's touching base with her brothers to see, is this most helpful? Is this most helpful? You see, that's how we take each other to heaven.
Yeah.
Sí, porque, y eso es el producto del seguir, porque ella ha estado siguiendo y ella ha estado confirmando constantemente con compañeros si está siguiendo, y ese es el cielo.
So she's kept her feet in there with Jesus by joining and joining and joining and joining with her brother to be clear on guidance and to be clear on what desires to do. Do you see how fast it's so much faster because he gets you right to the point.
Y ella ha seguido y seguido y seguido, porque es más rápido y porque él te lleva directamente al punto.
See, the ego is going to do anything it can to stay out of proximity with mighty companions 24 hours a day.
El ego va a hacer cualquier cosa para evitar que estés cerca, que 7 por 24 horas cerca de tus compañeros poderosos.
It's a hot fire to step into, but when you transcend it and you get to the willingness, you can hear them. What's
Pero
your
tú,
experience, Renee?
pero
Yes.
cuando tú lo trasciendes, tú como lo puedes escuchar.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's okay. Just yeah, the mind quiets. There's more quiet.
La mente se aquieta, hay más quietud.
And then the reminders just come so much quicker to, okay, like what's most helpful right now, or yes or no, or like miracle worksheet, or, it's just like,
El
it just goes
recordatorio,
directly to it.
el recordatorio es más constante. Si es la hoja de trabajo, si es qué es lo más útil que hacer ahora.
Because it's just saying no to the ego, like just as fast as possible.
Es decirle no al ego lo más rápido posible.
Yeah, thank you.
Gracias.
I can't thank you all enough, ever.
No puedo agradecer lo suficiente.
We're grateful for you too, Renee, really.
Estamos agradecidos por ti también, René.
She really took some off the wall assignments from Jesus and went for it.
Y sí, ella ha tomado unas asignaciones de Jesús y ha ido por ellas.
But you can't see. Yep.
Y tú ves los frutos, tú puedes ver los frutos de eso.
You have to say the yes first because you're accepting your divinity. See, when you say yes, you're going, I accept, and then everything's given into you.
Pero primero tú tienes que decir sí, tienes que aceptar y luego todo te es mostrado.
Yeah. Sticking with the desire he gives me, like even if I forget, and it just come right back to it. Okay, what desire did you want me to look at? And just keep asking and stay with it and join if I have to join, or whatever it takes. It's just whatever it takes.
Es mantenerme, pegarme al deseo que él me da y unirme y hacer lo que requiera hacer.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah, I just have like the material in front of me all the time. I'm constantly like checking in with that as well as what I'm hearing within, so that I can, get it everywhere. Anywhere I can get it, it's just like, okay, show me.
Es mantener el material cerca y es como muéstrame.
Yep, and then it becomes more the more you do it, more desires cleared out. You're really looking more toward what's most helpful and avoiding what's most helpful.
Y es como mantenerte en esto y dejar de evitar lo que es más útil.
Love you all. Thank you.
Love you too, Renee.
Los amo a todos. Gracias. Gracias, René.
Okay.
I'll share, Kay.
Oh, excellent, David. Let me find John to add you to the pin. You started it anyway. You asked for this talk.
Tú comenzaste con esto. Tú pediste por esta charla.
Yeah, so you said it really resonated. It's just do not underestimate how much you do not want to talk with him.
Y tú lo dijiste y esto resuena mucho conmigo. No subestimemos cuánto no queremos escucharlo, cuánto no queremos hablar con él.
And it's so true. It's a constant battle with the ego.
Sí, y es muy cierto. Es una constante batalla con el ego.
So what really helped is you also said, forgive your decision not to follow.
Y recuerdo que dijiste que perdona tu decisión de no seguirlo
And just relish it.
y simplemente disfrútala.
And I like that. It's a great step and a tool, and I can see how helpful that will be based on what we're doing to release desires.
Y me doy cuenta de lo útil que puede ser esto cuando estamos liberando deseos.
So I think that's my takeaway from this whole thing. I mean, we keep hearing it over and over.
Y yo creo que esto es lo que me va a llevar porque podemos estar escuchándolo una y otra vez.
And we have to in order to let it sink in.
Yes.
Y tenemos que hacerlo en el orden de lograrlo.
So thank you, and thank you, Renee, for your beautiful dedication. It's inspiring. Beautiful.
Una hermosa dedicación, es inspiradora, hermoso.
And thank you, Kay.
Gracias, Kay.
Well, you're an example, David, that when you're determined, you're just going to begin to hear, that's it. He wanted to hear. He just was a call of his heart to hear. And boy, it just started coming in. It's beautiful.
Y tú, David, eres un gran símbolo de determinación, porque cuando estás determinado a escucharlo, estabas determinado a escucharlo, lo escuchaste.
It's that consistency. I could see I would listen for a while and then I'd hit the snooze button.
Y podemos ver el tema de la consistencia. Escuchamos por un tiempo y luego queremos oprimir el botón de dormir más.
So we're all looking to through these consistency to get to the point where it's just 100%. Then you can't even understand, why wouldn't you follow? Your whole mind flips.
Y es lograr esta consistencia, y cuando la logras dices como que no entiendes por qué no lo habías hecho antes.
So thanks for asking about this, David, because it was for me. I can see it. He started talking to me immediately about
Gracias, David, por esto, porque no puedo ver por mí, no fue una comunicación que hubiese comenzado desde un principio.
Okay, let's see. I think Mary wants to speak. So
She's sitting in the
Parece-
she's sitting in the chair. I gotta switch over mics. It'd be good if
Están
David
cambiando los micrófonos porque me arriba a hablar.
thumbs up. Let me try to find David in here to give me the thumbs up on the mic. Can speak, Mary?
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay, let me switch the share cam over. Okay, Mary, go for it.
So I was asking him, what it is would be most useful for healing the mind for me to talk about in terms of my experience in hearing that inner voice for God.
Le estaba preguntando qué es lo más útil para mí compartir ahora con relación a escuchar directamente la voz.
Because there are at least 3 areas that were popping up for me.
Porque hay como 3 áreas que están surgiendo para mí.
One is journaling.
Una es llevar un diario
and one is the power of the sharing and looking at desires in the light circles with my mighty companions.
y el otro es las uniones en los círculos de luz con mis compañeros poderosos.
And the other is assignments.
Y la otra son las asignaciones.
That may be the one that I find the most difficult sometimes, these assignments, particularly around all my desires not to understand technology.
Uno de los que más dificultad me genera son las asignaciones, porque sobre todo las asignaciones que tienen que ver con tecnología.
But what I'm hearing to talk about is the power of joining with my mighty companions during light circle joinings.
Y algo que es muy poderoso son las uniones con mis compañeros en los círculos de luz.
So the center offers twice daily sessions where people can gather to look at a desire given by Jesus.
Y el centro ofrece 2 reuniones para unirnos y mirar deseos con Jesús.
And there's a facilitator that's following guidance to have us look at the relishing energy of that desire.
Y el proceso de facilitación donde miramos el disfrute de estos deseos.
And then using the miracle worksheet, there are questions like, Jesus, will you take me the whole way to see the very source, down to the very root of this desire?
Y utilizar la hoja de trabajo donde nos muestra si estamos dispuestos a ir profundamente hasta las raíces del deseo.
So not only is this an internal process, a practice of looking within and asking,
Entonces es un proceso interno donde nosotros vamos y miramos con él y le preguntamos.
but it's also joining with my brothers and being empowered by their commitment and dedication to honesty and truth.
Pero también es mirar con mis compañeros la dedicación y la devoción a la verdad.
In the last few days, there have been a number of times when I've been in these sharing circles,
Y los últimos días he estado compartiendo en los círculos de luz.
and I had the brakes on regarding accepting a miracle.
Y he tenido los frenos puestos para aceptar los milagros.
And then we would get down to where the facilitator would ask, is there any willingness to see this differently?
Y entonces vamos a las preguntas que hacemos los facilitadores y preguntamos si hay alguna voluntad de ver esto de manera diferente.
And I might see a little willingness.
Y puedo ver que hay un poco de voluntad.
And when the facilitator asked, well, am I ready for a miracle?
Y luego, cuando el facilitador pregunta, ¿estamos listos para el milagro?
I'm just being reminded, he's reminding me that I was putting the brakes on about wanting to accept all the gifts of the Father.
Lo que me llega es el recordatorio de que él me da, de que he estado poniendo el freno a todos los regalos que el Padre me da.
And when the facilitator asked if we were ready for a miracle,
Y cuando el facilitador me pregunta si estamos listos para el milagro,
my mighty companions were all saying with conviction, yes.
y mis compañeros poderosos dicen con convicción, sí.
And somehow within that moment, it flipped around for me.
Y luego, de alguna manera, para mí, eso es como dado o volteado, se voltea eso.
So Jesus was speaking through my brothers.
Es como Jesús hablando a través de mis hermanos.
And there's so much, it's unexplainable, really. There's so much power and so much joy in the joining.
Y hay mucho poder y gozo en estas uniones.
That somehow affects me so that I'm like, yes, I'm going for this.
Que de alguna manera me afectan a mí y yo digo, sí, yo voy por esto, voy a lograrlo.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Eso suena
Very
bueno,
powerful, very beautiful.
muy poderoso y hermoso.
Thank you, Mary.
Mm.
Gracias, Mary.
Yeah, it's a celebration of ourselves to see how powerful it is when we come together with those mighties and very specific means as given by him.
Y ver el poder de cuando nos unimos a estos compañeros poderosos, el significado dado por él.
I mean, the ego can turn mighty companions into a social organization, a social club.
Y el ego puede volver a los compañeros poderosos como un club social.
Okay, your mic level went down. You're not as loud as you were.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, so it's really about seeing that the brother can be either a social club or we can use it the way it's meant to be used in joining in A Course in Miracles, and that is for this deep looking.
Y podemos realmente ver que el hermano puede ser un compañero de un club social o usarlo para ir a una profunda mirada.
You know, and this is what the ego will avoid. It is committed to avoid.
Y esto es donde el ego va a evadir.
Is this deep looking? It doesn't want to see the truth. See, it's avoidance of truth. All of consciousness is avoidance of truth.
Es para evitar la verdad. Es todo el juego de la conciencia, es evitar la verdad.
And the same, it's avoidance not to speak to that voice all day. It's just avoidance.
Y eso es lo mismo que no escuchar la voz durante todo el día.
And to get 100% clarity on if you want to have 100% clarity on guidance, you will.
Porque si tú quieres tener 100% de claridad en esa guía, tú la tendrás.
He'll join you with a partner who's very, very clear.
Así que únete con un compañero poderoso que sea muy, muy claro.
The ego is committed to totally doing things its way on its timeline.
Porque el ego está comprometido a hacer las cosas como a su manera y en la línea de tiempo de él.
But all the freedom and joy comes from his use of time to heal the mind.
Pero todo el gozo viene del uso del tiempo de él para sanar la mente.
And the joy from that, again, at first it doesn't feel joyful because you think he's encroaching on your territory.
Y en un principio no se siente tan gozoso porque sentimos que es una invasión a nuestro territorio.
Don't get in my way, Jesus.
Quítate de mi vía, Jesús, de mi camino.
So you have to look down in your mind to see that the ego is the little golem down there just getting so much pleasure.
Y tenemos que darnos cuenta que el ego es ese golem ahí obteniendo mucho placer. We have echo.
Are there any other questions
¿Hay alguna otra pregunta
about speaking the voice,
acerca de hablar la voz y escuchar la voz?
talking to the voice?
Hablar con la voz. Yes, Kay. How do you hear exactly the voice?
Well, have you ever heard a thought in your mind? You know, like a thought rises up and you can kind of hear it. I don't want to go there. I don't want to do that. If you really...
Sorry, let me translate. Está preguntando cómo ella escucha exactamente la voz. ella me dice como un pensamiento. Like a thought, you say like a thought.
Yeah, have you heard a voice in your head talking to you? You're not good enough. You can't.
Tú has escuchado, yo le estaba preguntando que ella decía que como un pensamiento, ella dice que
you
si has
can't do-
escuchado esa voz que te está diciendo, no, tú no eres lo suficientemente bueno, tú no lo puedes hacer,
You can't do anything right.
tú no puedes hacer nada correcto.
So there are voices going in your head all the time.
Esa voz siempre va en tu cabeza todo el tiempo.
It's the voice for God speaks to me. It's a voice that speaks to you inside all day long.
Esta voz que habla durante todo el día es esa voz que te habla durante a ti, o sea, todos todo el día.
When I check in with them, you know,
Cuando yo verifico con él.
sometimes he's just talking to me and I'm talking to him. You know, I've said that before, eating my lunch or something, and I hear myself having a conversation with Jesus, but
Can you say that again? Okay.
well, sometimes it's just like it's kind of like auto talk with Jesus. Like I wasn't I'm thinking about talking to Jesus, and I'm having lunch and I just hear a conversation going on there about Jesus.
Y puedo ver que yo tenía esta conversación que iba dándose ahí cuando yo estaba haciendo alguna cosa y estaba hablando con él.
So when I ask him a question, I get a yes or a no.
Y
You know?
cuando yo hago una pregunta, obtengo un sí o un no.
He doesn't give me like the longest talk he ever gave me really was when I was doing those chapters and I'm writing down everything he's saying. But other than that, he's pretty sharp and to the point.
Y otra forma fue cuando yo estaba escribiendo, que estaba escuchando.
Most of the time is this helpful for healing the mind? What about this? Or, you know.
Y la gran mayoría de veces es que es lo más útil esto para la sanación de la mente.
And then now, you know, as it's cleared out and you can see me checking in with him when I'm talking about things, more so in the beginning, but now, you know, because now it's more natural. I don't have a desire to speak another voice other than the voice for truth. Oh, that's happiness.
Y luego es como una confirmación, porque ustedes han visto que yo la hago, esta conversación, pero cada día es menos porque simplemente estoy comprometida a hablar esta voz.
See, then you start speaking only what he tells you to say. It gets more and more natural to only say that. You're not going around, you know, saying all that other yeah stuff that comes out of our mouths.
Y nos damos cuenta que ya se vuelve más automático hablar esta voz, porque ya no te involucras como en las otras voces.
See, because usually we're speaking this voice.
Porque usualmente nosotros hablamos esta voz.
You know, we need to zip that voice and only speak the good voice.
Nosotros tenemos que cerrar esa voz y solo hablar la voz de Dios.
Not speak the forked tongue voice.
No hablar la voz de los cuatro.
But you start to recognize the voice because after 365 lessons, that's the voice for God would tend to say stuff like that rather than stuff like the ego would say.
Y pues vemos las 365 lecciones que son la voz de Dios y podemos hablar esa voz en lugar de la otra.
You know, I'm just kind of observing, right? Because people ask me about this. You know, sometimes it's just, and you'll see that too. It's like, Helen, you're just kind of scribing. It's just kind of coming through you and it's going on the paper. I was typing what I'm hearing, you know?
Es como Helen, que ya iba escribiendo a medida que escuchando. But she hear a voice.
I hear a voice too.
Yo le estoy preguntando que ella escucha una voz y Kate dice, yo también escucho una voz.
It's kind of gets to be like, you can't explain it. It's simultaneous because you're speaking the voice because your mind is clear. So there's not the kind of hearing in between. You're just the voice.
Es simplemente tú, es como una cosa automática. Tú hablas esa voz de manera como automática.
It's because it's natural to you to speak the voice. It's unnatural to speak that little forked devil tongue thing.
Porque es natural para ti hablar esa voz, porque no es natural hablar esa voz de las 4 lenguas.
So sometimes I'm just kind of, in the beginning, I was having to hear him all, just like this back and forth. What about this, Jesus? And then as it clears out, it gets more natural. And then the voice just flows through. I mean, you're speaking your voice, a voice for totality.
Y en un principio eso era como una ir y le preguntaba ir, como ir y confirmar, pero ahora se ha vuelto más natural.
So sometimes I'll be sitting here and he'll tell me, oh yeah, he'll remind me that'll be that. And then I'll say that. But
y algunas veces yo estoy sentada aquí, él me dice, me recuerda cosas.
Or I'm just checking in with them. What about that, Jesus? Do I talk about that? And then
algunas veces confirmo con él, ¿debo hablar de esto?
But, you can see, I mean, the way he trained me with that, it took a lot of training because he had me do 365 lessons during the day and 365 days of things at night that he was having me talk about.
Pero yo sé que esto requirió mucho entrenamiento porque tuve que hacer las 365 lecciones durante todos los días y también en la noche.
So it's just constantly like these checkpoints with him. And sometimes I hear a voice, or I'm just constantly checking in. I do hear a voice.
Y sí, yo escucho la voz, pero constantemente estoy confirmando con esta voz.
So you ask him, Jesus, is it a voice I'm going to hear? Yes or no? Mary? Is it a voice you're going to hear? Yes or no?
What was the question again?
Is Jesus's voice a voice you're going to hear? Yes or no?
Yes.
La pregunta es si la voz de Jesús es una voz que se puede escuchar y Mary dice que sí.
He's awfully quiet.
Es suave.
We're talking about the dog, the beast, that little beast.
Estamos hablando del perro, de esta pequeña bestia.
Make sure he's not swimming in the pool or something down there.
Estarnos seguros que no esté nadando en la piscina.
So yeah, the way not have a forked tongue and speak that voice.
La forma de no tener esa voz de la serpiente
is to learn to hear his voice. And then again, as your mind purifies, you're only going to speak the voice because that's what's natural. The other stuff's not natural.
Porque cuando tú entrenas a hablar esa voz es muy natural, porque la otra voz no es natural.
Thanks for asking, Rick. It's making me really happy to ask Jesus about this.
Gracias, María, por preguntar, porque
It's not
me
making
hace
me
muy
happy.
feliz preguntar.
It's not a thing that makes you happy. It's referring back to totality, and which is a reminder of all that you are. And then you get the fruit of that. You're reminded of the fruit of what you are.
No es que eso me haga feliz, es referirme a él, ir a él para preguntar. Eso es lo que hace la felicidad.
Once we do have the recovery program for not listening to the voice.
Porque tenemos el programa de recuperarnos de no escuchar su voz.
Gracias, Mary.
Este es el programa de recuperarnos. Gracias, Mary.
I could talk about journaling.
Puedo hablar acerca de llevar el diario.
Is there anybody else who? No, it's feeling like it's really complete, like we covered everything.
Parece
to
que
believe.
está completo y que parece que cubrimos todo.
It feels like love and gratitude to Jesus. That's what
Se
it-
siente mucho amor y gratitud hacia Jesús.
Yeah, we're really great. We're grateful for all of you that have had dedication and then share in the Light Brigade what you're hearing. That is an important part of learning to hone your hearing and speaking to him.
Agradecemos a los que comparten en la brigada de lo que escuchan y hablan con Jesús.
It's amazing. So many people have wanted to post in the Light Brigade.
Y es maravilloso porque muchos están escribiendo en la brigada de la luz.
And when I share that Light Brigade is to share your direct experience talking to Jesus. Like
Y
nobody
la
does
brigada de
that.
la luz es un lugar donde escribimos de nuestras experiencias de escuchar la voz.
It's rare that someone actually comes back and says, here's my experience, what the Holy Spirit said to me.
Y es
Like-
raro a la vez que alguien dice, mira, esta es la experiencia de lo que el Espíritu Santo me ha hablado a mí.
The whole purpose for A Course in Miracles
De todo el propósito del curso de milagros.
to hear the voice, speak the voice, follow the voice.
Escuchar la voz, hablar la voz y seguir la voz.
And we have a brigade it's only dedicated to that, sharing what you hear from Jesus.
Y tenemos nosotros toda una brigada solo para eso, para compartir lo que escuchamos de Jesús.
It's a celebration to speak what that voice tells you. That's all he's inviting beings to do. It's for them to celebrate that they can hear and that they can unlearn from Jesus.
Y vemos que podemos, can you say that again, Kate? I have
There-
the
it's-
desire not to hear.
It's a celebration to share what he's telling you in the brigade. That's how you celebrate. He sends you to share what he tells you. That's how you learn.
Y esto es una celebración de compartir lo que aprendes de él, porque
See, speaking what he's telling you is for you. It's not for anybody else. Like it's for me to talk to him about talking to him and being clear with him and asking him questions.
Y esto es para ti, porque no es para nadie más. Es de escribir lo que él te dice, hablar lo que te dice.
Because then I'm in Holy Communion with him. See, he uses the voice to bring you back to no thoughts at all, which is Holy Communion.
Y él te trae a esta santa comunión que es para ti.
You know, happiness doesn't have a thought going on in there.
La felicidad es no tener ningún pensamiento por ahí rondando.
It just gets funnier and funnier. Well,
Cada día se vuelve más divertido y más divertido.
Okay, so what we're going to do is just invite all the beloveds. I don't know. This supposedly asks everybody unmute. Yeah, maybe.
Yay.
And so you guys can sing loving to your brother in gratitude before we go.
Antes de cerrar, vamos a abrir los micrófonos para que todos puedan expresarse.
Gracias.
We love all of you. Thank
Gracias.
you for following the voice and coming to join.
Gracias por seguir la voz y venir a unirse.
Gracias.
Love to everyone.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Mary.
Amor para todos.
Gracias, amor para todos. Bendiciones.
Gracias. Saludos a todos.
Good vibrations. Good vibrations.
Peace, boys.
Love you all. Oh, rocking group. Love you all.
Buenas noches, gracias. Te amo. Good vibrations.
Good vibrations.
Gracias. Mucho amor, bendiciones.
Love is in the air.
Good night. Thank you.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
No.